So another game and another clinical performance by the Indian team. The Indian juggernaut now continues to roll on almost through to the semi-finals. I'm going to explain that entire equation to you. But last time around when India beat Afghanistan by 47 runs, I'd said in my match report that that's an innings defeat in test cricket terminology, and in T20 cricket to get a margin that big is unheard of, but guess what, the Indian team has done one better. They've now beaten Bangladesh by a massive margin of 50 runs. Why do I say India almost through to the semi-final? In fact, for me, they are through to the semi-final. While I record this, there's still a game between Afghanistan and Australia to happen. If Afghanistan lose that, then India are into the semi-final. But even if Afghanistan was to win that, and thereby, whatever permutation equation, you reach a situation where three teams are tied with 2 wins apiece, even then I think these 2 victory margins that I just alluded to are so huge that India are pretty much, for all practical purposes, already into the semi-finals. Undefeated so far, but I'd agree with some of you who'd say that listen, tougher tests await, because right now what has happened, you've beaten Pakistan, you already started that game as the favourites, you were expected to beat them, but you did it, credit. You started against Afghanistan, again tricky opposition, but you started as the clear favourites, you beat them, credit again. Third game, Bangladesh. These are the big games that I'm talking about. Bangladesh as well as USA. You started as the favourites. You were expected to beat the opposition. You beat them again. Sometime, you are expected to, but you don't. Look at the case of Pakistan. They are back home, but Indian team didn't do that. What was expected of them, they've done it. So that's one part. Now comes the real test going forward when you're going to be facing Australia, and they have been India's Achilles heel. Though in group stages India tends to beat them, it's usually the knockout stage where India has some problem with them. But the good news is this is group stage. But while this is a group stage match that India would be playing next, it has a very important context to the tournament, because remember, whichever team wins is going to guarantee themselves the number 1 spot in their group. That's going to be important because semi-finals to be played in Guyana. There's no reserve day. There's rain expected there. If that semi-final does not happen, the team that finished higher goes through to the final. By the way, that's one way of eliminating Australia in a knockout game. Beat them in a league stage, which you can, and then if it rains, you eliminate them anyway. But jokes apart, I think this Indian team is looking good. They can beat Australia on a given day. It'll be a 50-50 contest to begin with. That's going to happen in St. Lucia, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's go back to this game versus Bangladesh, because the St. Lucia preview will be coming up tomorrow. Now, what do I say about Jasprit Bumrah, India's bowling performance? Actually, if you look at this tournament, this is for the very first time, you could say, that the Indian bowlers as a unit have become more potent, more important, more crucial to India's victory than even the batters. See, usually what happens in Indian cricket, if you go back, jog your memory back into history, it's always the batters. Yes, you'll have a few games where bowlers do well. Always the batters as a unit. If they score well, India will keep winning games. If they don't, they'll lose. This is for the very first time. It's actually batting, you're like, okay, whatever, you put a par total, our bowling is so good that we'll win matches, and that says a lot. I mean, I can't think the last time that really happened in Indian cricket. The bowling unit led by Jasprit Bumrah, look at that man, yeah, in T20 cricket, where economy of 7-8 is now acceptable, he goes for less than 3 on occasion. Today also gave away 13 runs, could very well have been less, that 1 boundary, because he was trying to bounce the batter. Incredible. I don't think I can say anything different about Jasprit Bumrah than what has already been said, but what I will say is something that a fan mentioned to me, and I thought that was a very pertinent point right after the game. He said that, I heard so much about Jasprit Bumrah, but for the very first time I've realized what Jasprit Bumrah is, because for the very first time I really saw him play a live match. And so to see a Jasprit Bumrah in a live match vis-a-vis a Jasprit Bumrah on TV is a completely different ball game, and I completely understand that. For those of you who keep wondering what makes him so lethal, just watch him live. You'll realize when you see that ball shoot off after the bounce and the way he gets that ball to move, I sometimes feel for the batters. He's absolutely someone really special. And then ever since Kuldeep has come, he's chipped in. Hardik, the bowler, has been chipping in. I think, by the way, I'll also say that about Hardik Pandya. He's the man of the match today. he is probably proving to be India's MVP alongside Jasprit Bumrah in this tournament. Because Bumrah, what he's giving you, you expect. He's so good. But Hardik Pandya, you know, there were doubts about his form, especially looking at the way he performed in the IPL. Look at Hardik Pandya with the bat, has already played more than 2 crucial innings, 3 if I remember correctly. And with the ball, every match he's been chipping in. So I think, you know, he's slowly and steadily emerging as India's MVP in this tournament. It's going to be very, very crucial for India going forward. So the Indian bowling unit is the one to watch out for. What I will say about the Indian batting unit, and I think that's a much larger point. I know, you know, we Indian fans, we are so obsessed with our players, and they have been superstars, a lot of them, all throughout our history, that, you know, when they get big totals, we start respecting them. We expect our superstars to keep getting us 60s, 70s, 80s. I think we need to change that. Change that only in the T20 format. I think as analysts, as fans, and analysts like myself, we need to start looking at T20 cricket differently. All this while, we look at T20 cricket, or were looking at T20 cricket, just as we looked at as ODI, an extension of ODIs, that listen, top order has to get big runs, big batters have to get big runs. Once they give you the base, the rest of them will just chip in with a little bit here and there, and that was the template. But listen, the Indian team spoke about changing the template, and truth be told, I can see signs of genuinely an effort being made to change that template. What I'm seeing now is that the philosophy that the Indian team is following right now is that does not matter runs in front of an individual's name, doesn't matter how many an individual, how much is a Rohit got, don't look at the total number of runs, how much is a Virat got, don't look at total number of runs, how much has Pant got, don't look at 60s, 70s, because these are top order batters, you're expecting that. Don't. What matters is not runs in front of an individual's name. What matters more are runs in front of the team name. So in effect, India's batting in this T20 World Cup has been greater than the sum of its parts. So even though this, if you look at individual scores, they may not impress you all the time, and you'd be like, oh, this is not a great batting performance, and sometimes we start our criticism. But look at that total number. Look at that 181, which was above par total that they got against Afghanistan. Look at that 190 plus that they've got against Bangladesh, and above par total. That, I think, is the important number, and that India is getting. So while some of us may still not get our dose and our satisfaction of seeing a big knock from Rohit, big knock from Virat Kohli, big knock from Rishabh Pant or Surya Kumar Yadav or something like that, I think we need to get used to these small knocks, these 20s, 30s in double quick time at 150 strike rate, 60, 70. That is what the Indian team is aiming for, and I can see it. Look at Rohit Sharma. He didn't have to play that shot. He played that shot because that's the philosophy they are following. It's okay if a Rohit Sharma is out. There are 7 other batters. There are 8 batters. An Indian team will utilize all 8 batters with their 20-30s, quick fire 20-30s, and we'll get runs. Virat Kohli on a usual occasion wouldn't have played that shot. He could have easily built on a 50. He's saying no, he'll play like that because the team demands him to play like that. He's playing like that. Shivam Dube had already got a couple of boundaries in that over, could have taken a single double, no, still goes for that 6. Rishabh Pant was already going great guns with the bat, still trying that reverse sweep. So conventionally, when we analyze cricket, we'll start saying, oh, this is not done, you'd already got 15 runs of that over, what was the need for play that shot? That, my friend, is an old school thinking, and that's where Indian cricket was stuck at one point. I am happy to note that they are changing that. I'm happy to note that they're not looking at those little contributions. Yes, in ODI cricket that approach may still work. In Test cricket, of course, that approach will work, but in T20 that approach completely needs to change, and I see that effort being made by the Indian team. So maybe for us as analysts, as fans, we also start or need to start looking at T20 numbers, individual scores differently, and then judging the players also differently. So that's how the cookie crumbled for Bangladesh. That's how the Indian juggernaut continues to roll on at this T20 World Cup. We're done with Antigua. It was a very short stay here, and off next to St. Lucia. Next update will be from there. It'll be the preview to India, Australia. What a mouth-watering encounter. So for that, say it for the nth time, subscribe to Sports Today if you haven't already. Thank you for all the love that you're giving our content during this T20 World Cup, and press the bell icon. That's when you know next update coming your way. Take care. Bye bye. Nikhil Naz signing off from Antigua.